The world turns around many times. This phrase is very cliché, which we usually use when we see the harm that a person has done returning to them. The important thing is to know that God, the universe, whatever you believe in, always takes care of returning the good or bad that you have practiced. It can be right away or it can take years, but the good or bad that you have done always comes back. In today's story, we will meet William and Alexander, two characters like you and me, who in the blink of an eye changed sides of the situation. Before we start, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our videos. And now, let's get to today's story. William was a very simple boy who was born in a poor neighborhood in New York. He was the oldest of 4 siblings. His father was a baker and his mother was a domestic worker, and he had everything to have a very simple life, except for one thing. One day he saw his parents cry because they couldn't pay the bills, and so he promised himself that one day he would give his parents a better life. But things were not so easy for him. Life in the outskirts didn't offer him many opportunities. He finished high school, and like many young people, he couldn't get into a university. William's first job was in construction. 2 years later, looking for a better opportunity, William started working as a salesman in a building material store. 1.5 years later, William lost his job, and the alternative was to work as a delivery driver delivering food. 6 months later, William had an accident that miraculously did not take his life, but the motorcycle that was his work tool was destroyed. William was devastated because he was still paying for the motorcycle and it was his tool for work. Now without a job and not knowing what to do, William was again spreading resumes for any job that was available. He needed to work. Some time later, the young man got a job as a janitor in a company that provided services to banks and offices. At the same time, thanks to the hardship he went through, William saw the need to go back to studying and started reading many books, including one by a very famous author who wrote books about entrepreneurship named Tobias Harari, who he became a big fan of. Tobias had a very poor childhood and youth, but after struggling a lot, he owned a great empire. William began to dream of opening his own business, and maybe one day being like the author of that book who was a prestigious man and gave lectures all over the world. He knew he was still small, but nothing was impossible. One day, William was sent to do the cleaning service at the office of a very famous and renowned transportation businessman, Alexander Campbell, who was known for controlling his companies with great rigor and being a very strict man with his things. There would be an event for several businessmen and William would do the cleaning before the event. Coincidentally, the speaker of this event would be the author Tobias Harari, whom William was a fan of. William was happy because maybe he could have the opportunity to meet the one who was his inspiration and master. Upon arriving, William was greeted by Alexander himself, who had a super serious demeanor. William greeted him politely, "Good morning, sir. Look, you're going to clean the event hall and all the bathrooms, sweep, mop, organize the speaker's table, organize the chairs, and leave everything shining. If someone arrives, I want you to direct them to the company's reception on the lower floor, understood?" Alexander replied without even responding to William's greeting. "Yes, sir, understood." William did everything as requested by Mr. Alexander. He cleaned, organized the chairs, and put everything in its place. When he finally completed the service, William prepared to leave, but someone entered the hall and spoke to him. "Excuse me, young man, I think this is where a lecture is going to take place, but I got a little lost. My name is Tobias, and I don't think anyone has arrived yet," the man said kindly. It was none other than Mr. Tobias Harari, who had arrived earlier and was standing before William. William immediately became ecstatic. "Mr. Tobias Harari, wow, I read your book, and you are an inspiration to me. Look, the reception is downstairs. But before you go, sir, do you mind taking a picture with me?" the young man said with happiness in his voice. Of course, young man, you can take a picture, and never give up on your dreams. And I'll give you a gift of my newest book, Tobias said without objection and with great sympathy, giving William a copy of his newest book that was set to launch next week. As the scene unfolded, Alexander and several other businessmen who were also heading up to the event arrived at the hall. Alexander saw the scene of William taking a selfie with his guest and receiving a book from his speaker, and he suddenly shouted, "What am I seeing here? It's impossible. I hire a cleaning company that doesn't have an employee with the minimum capacity to shut up and do their job. Listen here, boy, this is an event for powerful people, not for a poor hungry person like you. Why are you asking him for a book? Do you think that by opening any little pub on the corner of your street, you'll become a millionaire like us here? Wake up, kid. Now get out of here, and rest assured, I'm going to call your boss right now, telling him that you're bothering all of my guests here today." William went down the stairs crying. He didn't know what to do in the face of such humiliation. He had been humiliated many times in his life, but that was the worst. No human being deserved that. He had been dealt such a big blow that he didn't even know how to get up. And the worst part was that he hadn't done anything wrong, and Tobias didn't even have a chance to intercede for him. He was humiliated and expelled without being able to defend himself. To top off his already bad day, Alexander caused a storm that soaked his phone and ruined his notebook that was still in his backpack, which William usually liked to carry to study in his free time. When he came to work the next day, as expected, William was fired. He took part of the money he received from the termination of the contract and took his phone to be fixed. When he got the estimate, he discovered that in addition to paying a lot for the repair, he would have to wait for a week for his laptop to be ready. That generated a certain feeling in the young man, and he thought, "If I'm going to be idle, why can't I learn to fix it myself?" William was fascinated by learning things, so he took the remaining money he received from his job as a janitor, enrolled in a computer repair course, and bought tools. He started offering the service to his neighbors and made a small workshop in his room. 3 months later, he began to struggle to do everything in his room with the demand for services, so he opened a small shop in a garage in the outskirts. William took steps forward. Gradually, the second store came, then the third, the fourth, the first store in the mall, and in 5 years, William turned his small computer maintenance business into a licensed franchise for the sale of computers and IT supplies. He was now a businessman who was growing every day. He studied hard to get where he was, and he was also an investor in other industries and could help his parents and siblings. During this period, William met Pauline, a systems analyst passionate about technology, who became his partner in business and love, and together they had a set of twins. The little ones Ben and Skylar. 8 years had passed since William fixed his first computer. The couple arrived home from work with their twins and decided to order pizza. They were in their apartment, which was in an upscale area of the city. When the delivery driver arrived, William opened the door, and to his surprise, it was none other than Alexander delivering the pizza. "Alexander Campbell? Is that really you? I'm not trying to be rude, but I can't believe you're a delivery driver," said William in disbelief. "I don't remember your name, but I remember you perfectly well. And thanks to you, I went bankrupt," said Alexander, stuttering. "What do you mean you went bankrupt? You humiliated me and still went bankrupt. Don't come blaming me for that now. You might have humiliated me 8 years ago, but I won't let you do it again. My name is William, but it's always easy to forget the name of someone you humiliated, right?" said William. "William, I've always been arrogant. I thought money could buy anything and that I could do anything just because I had money. And the worst part is that I didn't even build that business. My father left that transport company to me, and I was the only heir. After I said those things to you that day, there was a tense atmosphere in the auditorium. When Mr. Tobias got up to speak, he only said these words: "If you want to be successful entrepreneurs, never be like this man who humiliates people and employees as if you will never need them and the money you have gives you the right to step on them." After that, he left, and everyone left without speaking to me. I lost my contracts one by one, and my many business relationships fell apart, and my reputation as a rude and uneducated person spread. My wife left me, and I have a 15-year-old son that I'm fighting to win back. After a few years, I declared bankruptcy and had to take on various jobs, and now I'm a delivery driver because I need to pay child support, or else I'll go to jail. Please forgive me. I learned the hard way that I can't go around humiliating people like that. William was impressed and said, "Wow, I'm impressed. I can't believe it's you, Alexander, and I could pay you back in the same way. I'm an investor in a technology company and have a franchise network of cell phone stores. I worked hard, and my life has changed. I have no reason to hold a grudge. I forgive you, Alexander." With tears in his eyes, Alexander made one final request of the businessman: "William, I don't want to take advantage, and I have no right to ask, but I work as a deliverman, and last week I had a motorcycle accident. I was scared I wouldn't see my son grow up. I really want to quit my job as a deliverman. Do you have a job in your company for me?" William replied, "Look, Alexander, I don't want to hold anything against you. But I need you to understand. I forgave you, but I have every reason not to want to work with you. But at the same time, I've worked as a deliverman before, had an accident, and I also have kids. I know how it feels to be in your shoes. I have a position available at our branch in the mall as a sales clerk. If you want it, come see me there tomorrow at 9 a.m. Alexander was extremely grateful. He knew that he couldn't undo the harm he had caused 8 years ago, but he knew that he had a chance to start over. William also knew that helping Alexander wouldn't just be helping him, but it would also lift a weight off his own heart without harming him. And so ends the story of William and Alexander, two people who changed sides in the situation. They show us that the world really does turn, and it's important to treat people with respect and empathy because we never know what the future holds. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next stories. And if you've been through a similar situation or know someone who has, share it in the comments. We'd love to read and learn from your story too. Thank you for watching, and until the next story.